This meeting is called to order at 9:08 a.m. In lieu of her not being here, I'm going to be reading something. Get your man to do. Great Spirit, Miigwech, Gamizi Yang, August Good. Thank you for giving us this day. Miigwech, Bimad Dize Win. Thank you for life. Miigwech Nibi, Ishkade, Noden, Minawa Aki. Thank you for water, fire, wind, and earth. Miigwech, Gibima Ziwin, Oma Aking. Thank you for the life we live here on this earth. Gagwe Gima Nada Ma Gewin. We ask for your help. Mino Bima Deze Win. Igwe Dani Minogo. May you give us good life, the path of well-being. Awainen Indaso Gijik Ginawind Anishinaabe. All the days we are in Anishinaabe. Aho, Miigwech. Nikki, can I have you conduct roll call?
Carlos Hernandez,
Here.
Terry Gishik. Here. Robert Moyer,
Here.
Jane Drift.
Ama nungum.
I can have you review the agenda and see if there's any additions or deletions needed.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to add a wild rice update under me.
If there's no other additions or deletions, I ask for a motion to approve the agenda with the addition of the wild rice update. Move to approve. Moved by Robert. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Okay.
Any opposed? Any silent? Motion carried. Next, we move on to the approval of meeting minutes for August 20th, 2025.
Make a couple of comments regarding the meeting minutes. I can't remember if it was, excuse me, if it was at that meeting or the previous meeting. And we were talking about the 105L monies. And that Kim was going to be getting us a list of the programs or departments that was either receiving them or going to be receiving them. But taking that discussion one step further is that I think we need to start really looking at how we can make this really beneficial for the tribe. Like I keep saying in meetings that, yes, it's good that we're getting this money, but we're becoming so dependent on this money that we need to start making preparations for the event that it's taken away from us or it's not. And that I think that we should probably look at setting up a meeting to come up with plans to address that, so that we're not scrambling, trying to find somebody to help cover that shortfall. Just my thought. Thank you.
Sounds good, Shane. Would you like to make an agenda item concerning the discussion on the 105L money? Basically like a backup on what we're gonna do in case they just pull the funding? Is that what you're worried about? Yep, okay. I think we can make that an agenda item. Unless Kim, you'd like to address that now?
I have been working, that's one of the things I've been working on, and I almost have it done in a recommendation. I just have I asked for someone to proof some of my recommendations, and then I'll have it for the council. It's not ready for today.
Perfect. Thank you, Kim. It looks like we're gonna be on the lookout for that soon, and it looks like you're working on it, so awesome. As far as the meeting minutes for August 20th, did you want to make an agenda item for that later on today? Or we can hold that off. Okay, so back to the meeting minutes.
I'd like to just make a quick comment that the 105L money is something fairly new, and Boysport is a leader in that area. Since we have sought out those funds, we should have been getting it, all along. So we've got more and more buildings under that, whereas before our programs or our distribution from from Fortune Bay was paying for those O&M costs, operation and maintenance, beforehand. So this is not money that we're depending on. This is money that we sought out and got awarded and found ways to get this money established. Now, we're not dependent on that. We go back to spending the way it was before. So it's not something that we're clinging on to or hanging on to. It's an additional fund that we found through the federal government. And we're taking measures to access that as a benefit to us. So it's not like we're destitute if we don't get it. It's additional monies to cover O&M costs for IHS and BIA functioning buildings.
Awesome. That's some good explanation. We have a motion to approve the meeting minutes for August 20th.
Move to approve.
Moved by Sarah. Do I have a second?
I wasn't there, but I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Right. First thing on the agenda is the consent agenda. Would you be able to read those, Miranda?
Yes. Under the consent agenda, letter A, 2025 Special Election District 1 Vacancy Announcement and Calendar. Vote was 3 in favor, 0 against, 0 silent. Letter B, $250 bonus for election board members for every election. The vote was 3 for, 0 against, 0 silent.
For a motion to approve the consent agenda as read.
I'll just like to add, on the second one, B, for the bonus for the election board members for every election, the $250 is that under my poll vote, I stated, so long as it's in the budget. So with that, I move to approve.
Second.
Moved by Shane, second by Tara. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Any silent? Motion carried. Okay, first item on the agenda is Pam Parson with a compliance update. I think she might be joining us online and she has a report to read, and then I'll ask her some questions. Oh, no, I'm supposed to ask her some questions, right? I think I talked to her last time and I'm supposed to start out with the questions.
Morning, Tribal Council.
How you doing today, Pam?
Pretty good. Nice to see everyone today.
Good. I'm unable to find my questions I'm supposed to ask you real quick. So I think one of the first ones is supposed to be, is there any concerns that you have?
Yep. So cybersecurity continues to be a big concern. Education and awareness for all our employees on suspicious emails. Our IT department is beefing up their awareness training. Employees who open these emails and click on the links are the issue. So we really need to beef up our training on our employees so they're able to recognize when there's a suspicious email that comes that opens up on their screen, and then to be aware that if you're suspicious of any emails that come through, you do not know the sender, it looks a little odd, that we really want them to not click on the link. And a lot of people are still clicking on the links. And then we want to, again, look at any oddities and emails that are coming through. But we also want to ensure that our employees are reporting these emails as phishing emails. And on our email, we have a phishing email button, and you can just report the phishing email right on the email. And then our IT department can check that out. So that's kind
Perfect.
of what I'm doing right now, is just trying to ensure that employees are aware that, we are testing, we're sending out emails, and we want them to identify them suspicious emails and not click on the links. If staff click on the links, they're required then to do additional training. So working on getting that, squared away, although that's probably going to always be our weakest link, is our people.
Okay, so cybersecurity is our greatest concern. So the
Yep.
next question would be, what are the top 3 issues you're working on right now?
So I'm still working on the policy and procedure reviews for 2025. So the policies and procedures have been reviewed by the compliance committee members, and they're now ready for the revisions to be typed up by me. Then what we'll do is we'll do a final revision, a final review at a compliance committee meeting, and then we'll present the completed policies to the health board for approval. The next thing is the security risk assessment. So I started the security risk assessment this month. When I'm done with that security risk assessment, what I do is I review it with our security official, and that's Randy Long, for accuracy and any input on his specific areas for the security assessment. And then the last thing is our HIPAA in-person trainings. September 16th from 8 o'clock to noon will be in Net Lake. You guys can certainly come and join us for a 4-hour session on HIPAA. We make it really fun and engaging. And keep in mind, if you guys don't do it, one of the HIPAA trainings, then I'll have to assign it via MedTrainer. And then the next one, and that one's in Net Lake at the Eaton Eagle Room. And then the next one is October 22nd. That'll be our final one. So I'm trying to get all the people who didn't take any of the trainings to get in on that one. And that'll be at the Vermilion Center.
Perfect, thank you. So those are coming up September 16th in Net Lake, and then October 22nd in Vermilion.
Yes.
So next question is, what are the top 3 risks you are monitoring?
And again, employees clicking on suspicious links in their email, working on that billing and coding audit. I guess I didn't realize, the amount of time it takes to kind of coordinate this, because I really need our IT department to get things set up. So I'm hoping that that will be happening soon. They'll come in, they'll do the audit. Then we got to decide if we're going to do in-person training or if we're going to have them come up. The ladies who are doing it really want to come to Minnesota during the fall, so I have a feeling that that's what'll happen. So getting that audit completed will be, I think, very educational for our revenue department. I think it'll just help us get to where we want to be. And then again, lastly is the employee education on the phishing schemes and just, I really can't give up on that because it's such an important thing that our employees do not click on links, that they report suspicious emails, that type of thing. So that will always continue as far as I'm concerned.
Sounds good. Do you have the resources you need to fulfill your responsibilities?
Yes,
Money. Perfect. And do you have access to the people information and the data that you need?
yes,
Do you have sufficient authority to do your job?
yes, I believe I do.
And do people listen to you and are your concerns taken seriously?
Yeah,
Are you included in meetings to discuss new strategies, projects, and initiatives to ensure they are pursued compliantly?
yes.
Perfect. Thank you, Pam. And I'm trying to do my part by not opening any emails. Eh, No, I'm just kidding. I'm sorry about that.
That's a good one.
Thank you, Pam.
Yep, thanks, Tribal Council. Have a great day.
Thank you, Pam. All right, next up on the agenda is a donation committee recommendations. Do you read those, Miranda?
So under the donation committee recommendations, letter A, $500 to St. Louis County Historical Society Native American Heritage Day. This day will be held on November 22nd at the St. Louis County Depot. And they also work with American Indian Advisory Committee and the 1854 Treaty Authority to put on Native American Heritage Day. And this is by the St. Louis County Historical Society.
Looks like we have a subcommittee of band members already that pre-approved this. I see a list of signatures. It's the donation committee. Ask for a motion to approve the donations in the amount of $500.
Move to approve.
Moved by Robert. Do I have a second? Second by Tara. All in favor, say aye.
Hey.
Any opposed? Any silent? Motion carried. Next up on the agenda is Kim Greiner. And I think she has a few items on the agenda. First thing she's gonna,
Just for clarification, was that for both of the donation requests or was that just the first one?
Well, just to clarify that, we'll just do the first one there first and then the second one. Do I have a motion to approve? Moved by Robert. Second, second by Tara. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any silent? Motion carried. Now, it's on the record for both of them now. Right. Hello, Kim. Thank you for joining us today.
Morning.
First thing we have is an authorization for the chair to sign a voluntary compliance agreement with for HUD.
Yeah, so as you know, and everyone knows that we're behind on our audits. And so what we're doing is sending in a letter asking for a voluntary compliance agreement. They will send us the terms of that and we'll sign that. And basically we give monthly reports. We have target dates for the audit and that. And then if we're applying for grants, as long as we have a voluntary compliance agreement in place, we don't, it doesn't count against us for being behind. So we've done it for the past couple of years, but we need to do the 23 and 24. And so that's what we do. And we work with the grant specialists back and forth on it. So.
Perfect. My only question for that is there measures that we're taking now to prevent this from happening in the future so we don't have to, do that?
Well, we'll probably have to do a 25 one too,
Yeah.
because we have a target date. Remember when we talked about our audits being caught up?
Mhm.
Everything in accounting pretty much builds on the last year. So we can't do like 2 concurrent audits because we have to roll forward the balances to make the supporting documents for the next year.
Okay.
So we do have a plan. I just don't have it written out in front of me. I think we've talked about it a couple of different times. And maybe this is a good time to say too, what accounting is working on some very big ticket items besides our regular day-to-day work. So we're trying to catch up on our audits. And we are down 3 accounting positions. 3 accountants and the comptroller, 2 accountants and a comptroller.
Okay.
We're getting budgets to be approved before October 1. We have our backlog that plays into the audits. We're catching up on the indirect cost proposals. Those can't be done till audits are done. We're working on IHS contract support claims. That's a lot of detail about money owed to us from the federal government for what's called direct contract support cost and indirect on third-party revenues at IHS, which is a significant amount of money. We're working on the 105L lease design and recommendations and continuously working on that. And so on my spreadsheet, Shane, as we sat down there, right now we have 19 buildings covered by 105L leases. And we got 5 that we just sent in, and we have 5 more that we just contracted with appraisers for. So we're continuously working on that.
Adding more work for yourself.
Yeah. So it's not small things. And the last plug I wanted to put in was about per capita. In August, we work a lot on per capita. Per capita is a big project. Just a reminder that please call the front desk if you have questions, because there is a call list and you get put into rotated, or, they rotate. So everybody doesn't get all the calls, but we have a Teams page that we share information on about issues. To call there if you have an issue with your per capita, and we'll get you to the right place. And some are more challenging issues to look at, but people who haven't received their check because of the mail,
Mhm.
We have no control over the mail. And reissue date, we will start reissuing and doing stop payments on the 15th of September, because we always wait 30 days because most of it clears up through the mail, just a little bit of patience.
Okay.
And so they need to get the reissue form and return that so that we can get those. So I just wanted to put that plug in on that. But so we do have we have a big workload, and on there, I didn't even put our software design, which is taking about 50%, at least 50% of our time.
All right.
Yeah.
So that sounds like a lot of work.
Yeah. And so, this is just to get the voluntary agreement.
Okay. All right.
Got some questions.
Hmm.
First question with that. Any concerns from Jack, the tribal attorney on us?
I didn't even send it to him. It's something that we've done years, before.
What's been done?
Yeah, we've
Um,
done it. Yeah, we've done it for 20,
Yeah.
21, 22.
I
Yeah.
mean, if
I
we could
took a
just
look
get-
at it too, Shane, and I don't have any concerns. It's the same form we've used in the past that we've revised, so no concerns on my end.
Okay. The other one is that, with this, does this help alleviate the situation with our boys and girls clubs when they're funding?
Nope, this is just HUD only.
Okay. All right, and then, you said you're down 2 positions in
We're down
accounting.
3.
Down 3.
Mm-hmm.
What is your plan to get more people in here rather than posting the jobs? Are you looking at maybe some of the other temporary agencies if they have somebody?
No, well, we have 2 things going on. We did post an interview and we didn't get anyone for the 2 accounting positions. We have to repost that, but we're also working with Wipfli. Temporary agencies in this area are difficult to get.
Oh, okay.
There is, I mean, I can search again, but, one of my next items is to have Wipfli come do work and I'll explain more there too.
No, you said nobody applied.
No, we had people apply, but
But-
it didn't, none of them panned out.
Was it because the salary is too low?
It's a variety of things. I would prefer, that's probably more of a, executive session discussion.
Okay.
But one of the things is, location and salary, and, being able to, because I personally know of some municipalities in the area that have had, like finance positions open and people are turning them down at like, and they're in larger towns and they're turning them down and they're pay way more than we do.
Thank you.
There's no more questions. I'm asking for a motion to approve the authorization for the chair to sign the voluntary compliance agreements for HUD.
Move to approve.
Moved by Sarah. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Robert. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any silent? Motion carried. Next on the agenda, Kim, you have a BIA Amendment number 9 for telecommunication improvement and repair.
Yes, so this started, there's 2 parts to this for funding that we've been looking for. One is, radios or, some emergency radios for the forestry. They've been trying to get this money for some time. And it was moved around internally at the BIA, but nobody told us we needed an amendment to add, telecommunications improvement and repair. And so, and I've asked the BIA several times, someone finally said, oh, we need to send you an amendment. So this is the amendment. I did not send this to Jeff because it's a standard amendment that they always say. There's nothing in here. It's just saying that we get one special projects or earmarked programs and services for communication improvement and repair. And it's usually one-time funding. It's not like a recurring fund. But it's just, we just have to sign this and then the money can finish moving through. And on your packet, it has what it's for, what forestry had done. You can see like they've been working on trying to move this money since May of 24. Sometimes the stuff at VIA is really slow moving through theirs. And then I believe this also plays into, we're supposed to have some funds to replace the tower at the PD. And they keep telling us we have the money, but it never shows up. And so this might be one of the factors in it to get it to move. And I've tried emailing my contact and he must be on vacation because it's been about 2 weeks since I've heard from him.
Does anybody else have any questions about the amendment? If not, I ask for a motion to approve BIA Amendment number 9. Telecommunication Improvement and Repair Authorization, authorizing the chair to sign the amendment. Move to approve. By Robert, do I have a second? Second by Tara. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any silent? Motion carried. Next, you have an authorization for the chair to sign a letter requesting a provisional IDC rate for HIS,
It's supposed to be,
IHS.
Word documents don't like IHS. Keeps correcting it. So on compact funds, they use the rates up to 3 years and then they settle 3 years later. So because our audits were behind, our indirect costs are behind. So next meeting, I will have the 23 indirect cost proposal on the agenda. And in amongst this, we're catching up on the indirect, our big loads. So when they're getting prepared to do the 26 funding for IHS, and so since our 23 isn't approved, in our advanced funding, they have 2 options they can do. They can give us no money for indirect, and then also it is 15%. I confirmed, I was thinking it was 10%, but it is 15% that, or we can write a letter and request the 15%, and then when we get our approved rate, they'll adjust it to the proper rate. So for cash flow money, financial purposes, it's better to have the money in our accounts versus at the federal government. So this is just a letter. I did not send it to Jeff. Talking to Tammy King at IHS, we basically just had to write a letter asking for it and signed by the chair.
When you talked about that 15%, getting that 15% upfront like that, and they're gonna pay the amount later, whatever's approved.
Yeah.
Has that, the difference between the two, has that caused any problems financially for the band?
No.
No? Okay, thank you.
Move to approve.
Moved by Tara. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Robert. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Any silent? Motion carried. Authorizing the chair to sign a letter requesting the provisional IDC rate for IHS. Next up on the agenda is agreement and engagement letter with Wipfli.
Yep.
For audit preparation services for the fiscal year ending in 23 to 24.
Yep. So we have a engagement letter. This isn't the final version. We went back and forth several times. They are sending a new one, but Jeff was involved on this because there was some conditions in there. We used Wipfli for the 22, 21 and 22 audit to help out too also. This will help us catch up on backlog and get schedules ready since we're down and we're still trying to maintain our aggressive schedule of doing that. Couple of different things from this year to last year is that in the previous years, the person that helped us, the individuals who did the work were based in the country India, and so they'd do their work at night, and so it was really hard to, if they had a problem, you'd have to wait. You come in the next day, you get an email, and then you have to answer them, and so it kind of slowed it down. This year, they have 2 different people that are going to help us. One is a Boysport band member, and one is enrollee from Menominee tribe in Wisconsin that have more specific tribal government experience. They're on the same time zone and available. The Menominee person has a lot of grant closeout experience. So if we need, because we're down 2 program accountants, so if we need help, we can, as we need, we can ask them. So one of the things is we tried to get a cap on when we had to redo a new engagement letter, they put a range in. But if we get to an internal cap, we can just say, we won't do any, we'll rediscuss it, review it here. But the money that so we have 3 positions with all their salary and fringe and stuff. So it's kind of almost offsetting because they're all, 4-year degree people. So I think it'll move along quite well. And we got all our, other than the cap versus a range, I think everything else was addressed in our concerns from the attorney.
What you mean is
Mhm.
what we're gonna be paying Wipfli
Yep.
is just about equal to what services we were getting from that other company was it from India, did you say, or the?
Well,
the
it's
workers
just
that
their staff. It was,
Was the staff that was working?
yeah, so there's that, it was Wipfli that we used before, but their people who were doing the work were located in the country of India.
Oh, okay.
And so, they're halfway around the world, and so time zones and it
So
just is.
that won't be happening.
No.
Yeah.
Nope, this is, and
How did you secure those folks then?
the council did that.
I mean,
That was their staffing. It's,
the particular, to ask for them personally, or
Nope.
did they offer?
nope, the last time we used Wipfli, the council did that directly and told us that they had engaged with them. And so they already had the staff picked. But now, we're changing it up, so it'll,
I
should
think the
go-
question, Kim, is
Uh-huh.
how did we get the 2 local?
local people.
Yeah,
Well, they had staffing change, and then one I requested specifically because she had experience here, so we don't have to train. Yeah,
I think that's gonna help us tremendously.
Yeah. okay. I was getting confused on your question. I apologize.
So I take it that being an accountant is taxing.
Yeah,
Move to approve.
Moved by Shane. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Tara. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Any silent? All right, motion carried.
thank you.
Thank you, Kim. Next on the agenda, we have Lance Hill. He has his third amendment with the state of Minnesota Department of Transportation for T-Mobile. There's a Boys Fort Tower lease. And it looks like you're here to speak about the amendment. Thanks for joining us, Lance.
All right, good morning, guys. Thank you. All right, so quick backstory. This is the tower located at Forestry. I believe it was around 2011. Dates might be a little fuzzy. The state of Minnesota entered into an agreement with Boys Fort via Coochin County to provide armor radio services. That's the 800 for hazard response. And also, so they're the original lessee, and this agreement, I believe, the second lessee was also built, modified, amended and added, and that was T-Mobile. And they have since drafted a new lease for themselves. I don't have every detail with that one. So every time T-Mobile wishes to add modifications and install, make some repairs, there's an amendment to the original lease with the state of Minnesota. So I believe this third amendment is T-Mobile's wish to upgrade their microwave services, I believe. My printer went out earlier prior to the meeting, so I don't have it in front of me, but believe they're installing, the scope of work is upgrading microwave equipment and requires no groundwork. That's just a real quick summary. So, yeah, I'm seeking council approval and then chair signature for this amendment.
Randy, do you have any concerns with this?
No, I have no concerns with it. The system has been utilizing microwave communication between the Blacklock Trail and the Forestry Trail for several years now. But I will be reaching out to them shortly and notifying them that we have fiber connectivity out at the Net Lake Forestry now. So perhaps we can enter into a lease on our existing fiber network rather than installing the microwave network.
Thank you, Randy. Jeff, any concerns from legal?
Nope, we've taken a look at this. This amendment's pretty standard. It just really amends the construction and specification documents on the lease, so it just allows them to put the equipment on. So no concerns on our end.
Thank you. Move to approve.
Moved by Shane. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Robert. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Any silent? Motion carried.
Right.
Thank you, Lance. Much appreciated. Next up on the agenda, we have Brian Whiteman. There's 2 agenda items today. First one is a contract with the Net Lake Pump House decommissioning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
So this is Catherine Conway. This is who I work with mainly for our wastewater projects.
Hi, Catherine.
Yes.
Nice to meet
Here for
you.
any other questions you might have?
Sounds good.
What I have here is we have a project coming up for our smaller pump house on the res about maybe a half-mile out. You see our big filter plant and then a smaller one that's not being used. So Bugal was the lone bidder. They're the only people who bidded on the project, but I'm asking for a council to approve Bugal's construction to go forward with the project for decommissioning our old pump house to turn it into a cold storage. Just an empty building where we can store other things in there with public works.
Questions, with Kim, any concerns from accounting on that? No? Okay. Any concerns from Jeff, legal?
No, we reviewed this back in June, and Brian and Catherine were great to work with. They incorporated all of our revisions regarding Taro and immunity, so the contract is in good shape.
Okay, thank you.
And also I'm requesting for notice to proceed with the project, so we can get this project going right away for Chairman Carlos to sign.
I'll move to approve the contract.
Moved by Robert. Do I have a second?
Thank you.
Second by Tara. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any silent? Motion carried. Next, you have Jacob White donation request for the short film to be filmed on parts of Lake Vermilion. Hey, thank you, Catherine. It was nice to meet you.
Also here we have Jacob White for donation request for a short film to be filmed on parts of Lake Vermilion. I'm sure he's been contacted with and then conversing with council members.
Good news on the call. I was like gonna invite him to talk about the project if that's possible.
You know,
So the director, writer, Gnu Benton, is an
Okay.
Ojibwe filmmaker, and I think he's on here. I don't know how to unmute him or give him a chance to speak.
Sounds good. Nice to meet you, Gino.
Oh, okay.
Bojo. Uwena Bojo, Makadega New Indigenous Cause, Wazasi and Dodem, Zagging and Dunjaba. Hello, everybody, and Miigwech for having me here. And I appreciate your time and having myself and our producer, Jacob White, in attendance. I'm going to start off by saying that Ghost Lake is a short film that I wrote in response to a few deaths that I've had in the family, as well as one of my great filmmaking mentors, whose son went to college and passed away via a fentanyl overdose with some laced marijuana. And two of my cousins also went that way. So this film that I wrote and that I'm going to be directing is a love letter to them and the loss of their lives, and basically my response emotionally as an artist to be able to create this film in honor of their memory. And also through Wawate Programs, who is our fiscal sponsor, with director Ryan Bajan, we plan to use this film as an outreach platform to be able to attend film festivals and communities wherever the film is accepted, to be able to talk about the issue and bring this issue to light more than it is, and to have that community mobilization. So everybody who has gotten on board has seen the vision of the film and the dream I'd like to have, and I'm totally appreciative of everybody who's been on board and willing to go through this undertaking with me as a filmmaker. With that, I'd like to pass the mic over to Jacob. If anybody has any questions for me, that would be great, because if you have any questions, I'd be able to answer that freely and appropriately.
Thank you, Gnu, and yeah, I'm just grateful for the opportunity to speak with you guys today. And I met Gnu a few years ago through the film festivals in Duluth and the one we started in Ely. And we've been working with Net Lake Youth since we started that Ely Film Festival, with Ryan bringing youth over and helping establish a lot of those relationships. You know, there's a lot going on in Indigenous film right now, so it's really exciting that Gnu wants to bring his film here. And I think when he came and visited, he saw the area and felt at home, and we all connected, you know, easily with him. And so it's you know, it's kind of an honor and privilege to help him access. There's some new film rebate programs in the county, and the IRRR for film production tax rebates, and support from the Upper Midwest Film Office that's worked with Boys Fort for a few years. And so, you know, we're just kind of respectfully approaching the council to see if Boys Fort is interested to partner with us on this film. And we'd love to film it over at Vermilion. And we've scouted locations. We've talked with a lot of community members and put a good plan together. And, you know, so we're happy to answer any questions that may come up about the specifics of that. And respectfully, if the tribe is able to donate, that would be awesome. But, you know, if that's not possible, or if it's only possible in some form, you know, we want to work with you guys however we can. So, happy to answer questions. And I know Gnu would be too. He would be here, but he had to get back to Winnipeg for work this week.
And yeah, we had some ceremonies going on, so I had to come and be in attendance for that. So Ghost Lake is a fictional short film about 25 minutes long, and I submitted the script to Vision Maker Media, who gave us our first grant based off of the idea. And the synopsis basically is a hunter discovers a young man out in the woods who is overdosed, and we also are introduced to the local tribal chief, not tribal chief, chief of police, and through them we go through the process of finding out what it is and how this crisis devastates their community. This hunter, he discovers a fentanyl smuggling ring that goes through the tribal territory. He gets beaten and left for dead and takes matters into his own hands. And the twist of the story is that the tribal chairman, who is going to be played by Gary Farmer, is the bad guy behind it all. And so basically he's allowing the drugs to come through the community and then also profiting off of the programs that are established based off of the losses in the community as well. And for some reason, this story has resonated. And when I put the casting call out, we got at least 170 submissions for actors, and one of which for our lead character, Shane the Hunter. He is Che Jim. He's a social media influencer that I also has hunting experience. He's a good ranch hand. He bought a ranch recently, and he knows the physical capabilities of living out in the bush as well. And he also has 2 million social media followers, and I think that would be good publicity for us, for the film. He has great acting ability, and being able to build that into the story as well, his acting ability and his experience, as well as Gary Farmer, Renee Boehm, who's also a veteran and firefighter, is going to be the chief of police, and we hope to really make a great story about that. I don't know if Jacob wants to add anything to that.
Yeah, no, and it's exciting that, Gary and Shay have agreed to have kind of a community education day where they come over here to Net Lake and meet with the youth and elders and, community members that want to brush shoulders with some really cool Indigenous actors. And I'm just impressed by the cast that GNU has brought together for this. So we're really putting our heart into it right now to bring it to life, and hoping and trusting that it's going to open a lot of doors for us as creatives, and also, hopefully for the community here. And so that education piece is, I think, really important. And we talked with George Strong, and KBFT might want to interview some of those actors and, cover what's going on over there. And we talked to the 477 department to see if there's some ways we can get local people hired. And so we've sort of tried to respectfully approach people to do our homework, and everyone said, you guys need to talk to the council. So we're grateful to talk to you guys today. And yeah, there's a lot of details in here kind of about the locations that we're interested in, and some of the specifics of that we've scouted out, and timelines and things like that. So see if anybody had any other questions or comments, but thank you for your consideration.
I have a couple questions.
Yes.
Tara, Secretary Treasurer, Tara Gizek. The 25,000 that you're asking for, we'd already looked at it through staff. Maybe you can kind of update where we might be able to look at this. We always try to spend grant funds before our tribal funds. So I'm going to have our executive director see where we can come up with those funds first.
Good morning, Miranda Lilia, Executive Director. I did check with our senior management team after we received the information from Brian this morning. We have a couple of areas that we would possibly be able to make the donation. One would be out of our opioid settlement dollars, and we would need to make sure the project qualifies. And one way to do that would be education and prevention. So if we can kind of, put that into the movie or get that from the movie, I should say. You know, we possibly would be able to take money from there. We also have some TARO or Tribal Employment Rights Office. They have some fees that have been paid to TARO, and so there's a possibility we could use those funds as well. So I think we might need a little bit more information kind of offline to determine which fund would best be suitable to make the donation. And on a side note, I've been looking up your actors because I'm terrible with names, names and faces. Those are pretty impressive actors that they have coming. It's exciting.
I'm impressed as well. You know, I as a filmmaker, I'm very independent, and I started that way. You know, I shot movies on my cell phone and did my best with no crew, no cast. You know, just some best friends that believe in my visions, and you know, no money, no budget, and you know, I guess I've done pretty well for myself because I appreciate the outpouring of support again from the actors and people who are impressed by my work. And as an Anishinaabe filmmaker, I think that is a huge blessing to be able to achieve my dreams. Furthermore, I just wanted to note that being Anishinaabe and coming into the Ely Film Festival and Duluth Film Festival, Minnesota Film Festival, and exploring the area and coming into Bois Forte, I immediately had a connection with the people in the land there. Being the movie's called Ghost Lake, the lake is very prominent as a keeper of the spirit of the people, and you know, I felt that immediately in the surrounding area. I looked at everything around, and it was exactly everything that I envisioned in my mind when I was writing it. And the people have been so welcoming and so wonderful to meet. Again, like Jacob was saying, you know, I've even asked a few local people to be, especially our elder that we have in there, the woman that we asked to borrow her house. She's very excited about being in the film as well, you know. So again, you know, I'm just very humbled and grateful for being able to do this, and hopefully, with your permission, would be able to use Bois Forte in the film to make the best and most credible film that we can in the image of what it is that I envision to give to the people.
Really quick, are we certain about the 25,000 that we can come up with that? Should we act upon that right today? Or should we, work with and then do a poll? Cause I see your October, so we need to kind of,
I would recommend that we sit down with the senior management players and discuss, and then come back for a poll from the council for the donation amount.
okay,
And for the timeline, you know, there's cushion to get us through where we need to get to. And so if that didn't come through until early November or late October or something, you know, we'd still love to work with you on that, because we're doing the rebate program and certain things that cash flow has an offset to it. And so, you know, we'll work with your timeline.
okay. I just wanted to say how like moving that was to hear, exciting too, moving and exciting. Because the fentanyl crisis has hit Bois Forte hard, not only on the reservation with our people. We have many off-reservation folks in and around Minnesota, Twin Cities area, Duluth, Iron Range, outside of Minnesota. So that is not only exclusive to large reservations. It's hit us hard here in our smaller reservations. So to bring some highlight to that smuggling, you know, that is happening, or even the deaths and that's happened. The crisis is here. It has been here for quite some time. And then I just like to note that you're looking for actors. We have one right here. He's a former police officer, if you want to borrow him. Our chairman. Thanks.
That'd be welcomed, you know. We do have plenty of police officers that we need to fill the roles.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I have a question because I think it's a really cool project and it's interesting, but I think there's one piece that is kind of going unanswered. So you'll be filming on the reservation. Would you be like using, you know, just to explain to the audience, you'd probably be maybe staying at Fortune Bay, you'd be using like our C-stores for gas and stuff like that. So you'd be making a reinvestment, you know, economically wise in, I haven't seen the packet, so I haven't read it, so I'm just curious to see if that's part of.
Yeah, no, thank you for that question. We put a packet together with the different locations. So the center, you know, would be kind of the community center and have a couple of the different offices we are looking for the film. You know, we like to talk about renting the kitchen, whatever that may look like. And the public works facility, the new one, you know, Farm Road there. Really grateful, you know, that Robert showed us that, and we said, wow, this actually might work really well for a couple of the offices and the clinic room that's in the movie. There's a scene with the cemetery, so that's brought up some important conversation about, you know, respectfully approaching that, whether that's the right location to use and doing that in a good way. And I think, you know, maybe GNU and others could speak to that. And we're looking at the Fortune Bay Executive Conference Room and trying to also find an executive office for the chairman's office. But our hope is to be able to at least put the cast up at Fortune Bay would be my hope, and direct people, to the Y store there, and to hire as many people locally as we can for some of the supporting roles, and to help, you know, feeding the crew or transporting equipment and things like that. And so then there's sort of the back of the packet, some other returns on investment. And I think a big thing is really the relationship building that may happen with this, and getting the word out, you know, and Boys Fort connecting with some of these other agencies around the state, to show, hey, we're interested in doing film here. And we think that, you know, having this really impressive all-star cast here, you know, they're going to be hyping up Boys Fort all around the country. So I know it's, you know, I've done work as a film person before where folks say, well, you're going to get credit and connections. And it's like, well, I can't feed myself with that, you know, or pay the bills. But it feels like a good investment that a lot of people are coming on board just because of the heart of the project. And, you know, we're going to be creative and you know, conservative with our spending as we can, but also try to spend here as much as we can too. And so, you know, it's a movie, so there's a lot of moving parts and nothing's been locked in yet, but yeah, we'd love to reinvest as much as we can in that way. And I just want to say thank you for speaking up, Tara, right, about the personal connection too, because it's personal for me as well. You know, I have a childhood friend that died from fentanyl overdose, and then a friend at Vermilion, Danny Parados, who passed recently too. And so I know it affects everybody in Indian country and throughout the country too, really. So thank you for your question. I don't know, GNU, did I answer that right?
Yeah, it sounded like it. So I just wanted to touch upon the cemetery, only because being a Anishinaabe and being a filmmaker, there are very specific visuals that indicate an Anishinaabe film. And given the fact that we have a very pivotal scene that leads into the rest of the film regarding a mother who has lost her son, the boy that the hunter finds in the beginning, she is going to be the voice of the entire community in her scene. And one thing that I've never really noticed in a film is our spirit houses, and showing showing that. We've seen plenty of cemeteries in films, a lot of Christian cemeteries, but nothing that really indicates who we are. We've seen Wounded Knee Cemetery all the time, but nothing that speaks on us and the devastation and the symbology that especially unconsciously people gather visually. We can find another place and create some spirit houses on our own. But I think it's just a matter of cost. And I think also the spirit that would be captured on film, because I think that the respect that we would go through, especially being the all native cast, they would know how to have respect for the cemetery there. It would come across very genuinely on film and hit home to anybody who watches the film. How it is that it'll come across in the actors' faces and emotions, and especially I have my cousin Opie Day and Crow Belcourt coming out with Midnight Express to be able to come and sing for that. And I think the genuineness is really what I'm looking for, and to identify who we are in spirit, and capturing that, especially with the mother giving her monologue about the community not doing enough, and the impact that it has on her as well. All these things coming together, I think, would create a very powerful image. But we're always open to any suggestion in a very respectful way, and want to approach it in a good way. Whether it is to have ceremonial protocols beforehand, and give our respects, possibly some food before we enter the space, that kind of thing. Anything that we can possibly do. I know some ways differ from community to community, so we're open to whatever spiritual advisor that you have there is open to whatever he says. Basically, is what we're open to in the protocols.
I'd just like to add, I had a great meeting with these guys. It came out of nowhere. It was, just spur of the moment type thing. And we had a good talk. We walked around the area. We discussed the cemetery at length, mind you. And I know the area that's being talked about. I know the people that are buried there, and I have been reaching out to certain individuals and as many people, just trying to discuss this situation, because I want to be as respectful as possible and not do anything in a bad way. I went up by myself and put out tobacco and seen, because these are actually parts of my relatives and all of our relatives in the backgrounds. And I want to be as respectful as possible, but I did go up there, just had my moments, checked it out. I'm not traditional, but I do feel for this area, and I do not want to disrespect it in any way. And I think these guys have their vision, and what would be actually in the shoot would be, kind of minimal. It wouldn't be looking directly over the whole region of where there is burials. It'd be kind of in the eastern corner side of the cemetery, the farthest east side of the cemetery, and it would be kind of overlooking areas where there is not graves. But these mentioned ones that they're talking about, the spirit houses, those ones that are in the shoot, I don't know how to say, I don't know. But those ones that are in there, I know the people that are buried in that area, and I've been reaching out, and I will make sure we're do this in the right, best way possible. And our spiritual advisor, I haven't been able to speak with him right away yet, but you know, there is other ways, and they have mentioned GNU has been great, Jacob's been great. I can't remember the other dude's name, but Justin, you know, we had a good talk, and you know, I'm very excited about this project and think it would be a good thing for Boys Fort. The cemetery part, we just need to make sure we're gonna do it right, and if it doesn't go up there, it doesn't go up there. Is, you know, I don't think anything bad with it, but you know, I'm one person, so I'll get as much feedback as possible. One thing it says in this is that I'd be serve as a point of contact. I'd want all of us to be the point of contact on the tribal council with the executive director, you know, so just with that, you know, that'd be my main thing. And I think I said that before, but it's a, yeah, reading, yeah, I'd rather it say all of us. And thank you very much for this opportunity. Miigwech.
Good morning. I had the honor and privilege of meeting with GNU, Ben and Jacob and the other individual. I can't remember who his name.
Justin.
Justin.
He's a indigenous cinematographer from Bismarck.
Okay. Yep.
He's a cool guy.
We met on Friday up at Fortune Bay, and they gave me the they pitched the idea to me and what they were looking for, and then I myself, as a tribal leader and also as a band member, I was for it right away. And I think that, you know, if 25,000 is, if we can give that as a tribe, I think that would be a small, sure, it's a small investment, but I think it would be a huge impact to bring more awareness to this epidemic, this problem that we're facing, that not only as an individual tribe, but as a tribal nations across the country here. You know, and I was just, when they told me who the actors were coming in, it's like, wow, awesome. And I hope that we can do something financially to help out. That'd be great. Thank you.
Sounds good. The only concern I see is you requesting a location of, or not requesting of, possibly renting the Vermilion kitchen from the 6th to the 10th, but we use that facility for our elderly nutrition program. So maybe we can work out something where you rent it at night or something. Maybe, I'm not sure, but that's what that kitchen is for. It's for our elderly nutrition program.
Mm-hmm. One suggestion, if I may, I was thinking that I'm not sure what the kitchen rental is for. I don't know if it's for feeding our
staff.
fast.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, maybe we could utilize the elder feeding time as an educational time as well. You know, bring in some of our actors to be able to speak to them and, you know, start our community outreach there and have them come in and meet and greet. You know what I mean? I think that would be very entertaining.
I would add too, as the producer looking at logistics and scheduling, I think of it as a puzzle. And well, Justin said, no, it's a circle. If you take one piece out, you have to move another piece to fill that, right? And so that's sort of how movies work, is sometimes things will change, you know, with scheduling and even with locations or actors availability, or maybe there's rain and we have to pivot, you know, things like that. And so that was part of the request, to have a point of contact. And I appreciate your intention, Robert, in saying, well, this is the whole council. I'm not just one guy. So I just put his name on there because I knew you were over there and District 2 rep. But I, you know, if there's someone who would be a good point of contact, maybe it depends on if we're dealing with the center or if we're dealing with the public works. You know, we may have more than one point of contact and things. And that's a perfect example of, do we need that kitchen? We could probably make something happen somewhere else. So very flexible, you know, to what your needs are, and just want to be transparent and communicate ahead of time so we have a plan.
Oh, just wanted to read the question online. Why do they need to film in the graveyard? Can't they recreate the spirit houses for their movie?
Um, I, as I mentioned before, thank you, that as far as the impact that it will have on the actors and what will come across on screen for the what we would like to come across on screen. Basically, it'll have a more impact for our actors to be able to deliver their lines and to be able to speak on the community. And you know, yes, they're talented actors, and we could recreate it, and you know, if need be, we will. But I think, you know, as Native people thinking about and having our loved ones and elders and ancestors around us, you know, being able to make these kind of statements, they're going to be shared later. It'll come across visually and emotionally to, especially the audiences that we plan on showing it to later. They'll feel it, and that's mainly why, as an artist, I know these things. You know, as authentic as you can possibly get is the way to go. You know, just as a side note to just cost as well. You know, if something's already there and genuine, you know, it's always preferred to do that as a filmmaker, as opposed to recreating it and having that kind of fake feeling people know.
And I would add, I don't think we need an answer today.
Yeah.
You know, like Robert said, you know, approaching the elders and people that have family buried there and respectfully haven't taken the time to have those conversations. And we want to invite Vern to come and, you know, advise us spiritually on the production. That's something we've been talking about for months. Even before we knew we might want to film in a graveyard, we thought we'd like to have a spiritual advisor as a part of this film. You know, and so like Gnu said, we could build those and do it in the woods just about anywhere. But it's a different intention to have it in that space, you know, if that feels right for everybody. And then, you know, the other piece is with the camera, you know, a lot of times the background is not in focus. So we may not, you know, see the details of those spirit houses and things like that, but can kind of mask that in the background. But I think the actors would feel the energy of the place where they are. And I really appreciate that. So thank you for, but the main point, I don't think we have to have an answer today.
Mhm.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah. And let me just add that just like Shane, when we were riding around the community looking for locations to request, we saw it on the GPS that there was a cemetery there. So that's the reason why we went up there. And we circled it, and I saw a very nice spot there, a plot, and it felt really good. So it made me get out of my car, and just like him, you know, I took up my SEMA and offered it first before I even stepped foot in it. And you know, it felt good, felt right. So that's why we're requesting that area. And I think that I felt like whoever's there is also in agreement with our story, and you know, kind of helped me see that. So I just wanted to say that respectfully.
And then just some other comments and questions. Do you think we should be filming in a sacred space for those purposes? And then maybe think about having a community meeting for input as well?
Sounds good. Yep, we answered that first question. I think we can have a community meeting later on, once this gets into more fruition here. But it is interesting, and we are gonna have to look on the back end and see, you know, where we're gonna get, if we're gonna get, or how much we're gonna get to put towards this project. It is interesting though, and I'm glad you came to work with us, and I think we're gonna have to get some more input from the community too, you know, just on what they gotta say, and Well, yeah, I'm pretty sure everybody's gonna be interested. They just want their questions answered and make sure that, any concerns they have about, s- cultural significant items and places and locations and are respected. So I'm sure that's what the community wants to make sure. It's gonna be respected. Thank you guys for coming forward, though. We're gonna do some more review on our back end before we get back to you, though, but it is interesting and we do look forward to working with you. Thank you, guys.
Yeah. Miigwech for
Miigwech.
your time.
We're gonna take a short recess here before we go on to our next agenda item. It's 10:29 here. We'll just take 10 minutes, please. Thank you. All right, we can resume this meeting. First up or next up on the agenda, we have Morgan Olson. She's going to be speaking about the implementation of an Ojibwe home exhibit at the Hull Rust Mahoning Mindview Visitor Center. And Morgan will be joining us. Thank you, Morgan.
There we go. So I'll introduce myself. My name is Morgan and I'm the tribal archivist over at the Heritage Center. So I've been working on a project actually. It's the Hull Rust Mahoning Mindview Visitor Center. And I'd like your approval, but even more than that, I'd like some feedback because it does contain a lot of boys war imagery and educational information. And I just want to put a few disclaimers out there. I know that mining is very controversial to many, especially in Indigenous communities. But I thought it was important to include an Ojibwe perspective in these spaces so that people can look at it in a new way. And an example I have of that is like Ojibwe stewardship. So yeah, if you have any comments for change, recommendations, or criticisms, I have my notebook here and I can write those down. So I know you all have like a packet of the slideshow I sent over. So I'll kind of summarize it instead of wasting all of your time.
Morgan, would you like me to show those slides on the screen
Oh, that would be
for those in
amazing.
attendance online?
Yes. So this is the main objectives I received from the people who are putting on this project. And I thought I would just summarize it so I'm not wasting all of your time. But basically this project is to discuss the legacy of mining for over 130 years and beyond, and especially aspects related to culture in the community. And as you can see, most of the culture they're including is mostly mining related. And we do have one Ojibwe area, and it's unfortunately kind of small. So I really wanted to pack as much information in the space as possible and really give visitors a good idea of Ojibwe stewardship and Ojibwe views of the world, both past and present. So there's three main talking points that I kind of wanted to hit in this exhibit area. It's land and water stewardship in Net Lake. And I wanted to talk about that because there's kind of a stark contrast between the way mining has impacted the planet versus how Indigenous communities have historically impacted the planet. And I thought that kind of showing those two right next to each other would allow visitors to see these differences. pretty well. And I wanted to use Net Lake as an example because historically it's been really protected. I mean, like a lot of Bois Fort land and water has been protected, but I think Net Lake is a really good example of that. So that's the example I chose. And then I wanted to talk about treaties in northern Minnesota and how that's also impacted the land and how it's impacted mining as well. I wasn't able to get too much into kind of the unfair history that some treaties had just because of the funding issues, but and then I wanted to talk about the Hill Three Waters, which is really important to Ojibwe people. It's very sacred, and it's in this mine, the Whole Rust mine, and there's a window that you can view it through. So I thought it would be really good to add. And in this topic, I wanted to make sure that there was just enough to inform visitors and without really going into the specifics like ceremonial practices and stuff like that. I definitely wanted to stay away from that so people would not try to disrupt the area that the Hill Three Waters is on. Okay. So I'm gonna get a little bit more into the land and water stewardship in that lake. So this is on the right here is what they came up with. I mainly came up with the ideas and they did all the cool writing and finding the pictures and stuff, but this is what they came up with. And one of the main things I told them I wanted to implement is I wanted to give like a modern and a historical perspective because although they're like pretty similar, I thought it was cool to see how it changed and also not changed over time. And this slide or this exhibit space mostly uses Monroe P. Kelly photos, which were taken in Net Lake from 1939 to 1949. So that was something that I thought you guys might have some comments on, whether you'd like to see these photos or any type of different photos for this specific exhibit space.
Oh, those look really nice, and it does look like they're captioned with who's in the picture on the side. It's just my picture doesn't show it, but it looks like the writing's along the side of who's in the picture.
Yeah, I think that's like the maybe the link or something, but it comes from the Minnesota Historical Society.
Okay.
So they have definitely background information on it. I don't know if everyone in Kelly's photos are identified, but that's something I could work on potentially, where we could identify people and kind of examine what we could do with that.
It's looking good so far, but thank you.
Okay. So for the treaties and land session, it includes a quote from a former tribal chairman to discuss Ojibwe views on sovereignty, which I think is really cool. It says, "Our sovereignty is not something that anyone gave to us or can take away. It's inherent, something Indian tribes have by virtue of the fact that we existed long before there were places called the United States or Minnesota." And that was from Kevin Lisi, who is the former chairman. So I thought it was cool to get this perspective on what land, how the culture and history of the land has changed based on these treaties.
16 is the missing number there.
What?
16 is the missing number.
Oh, okay. I'll have them put that on there.
I'd just like to add in the statement there on the right next to the Treaty of 1854 established permanent reservations for the Fond du Lac and Grand Portage bands of Lake Superior, Chippewa. Bois Forte was, Vermilion was established in that 1854 area as Bois Forte. And, you know, that's not really recognized in here, but it does go on to the Treaty of 1866 being where Net Lake was established as a permanent reservation. I think that history has to be always told that our reservation was a part of the 1854 treaty area, and we did get moved. We got moved for mining, that they were going to find gold that was there, and our reservation got moved. That history will always have to be told. It's near and dear to my heart, where my mom, my grandparents, people of all part of Bois Forte had their lands way before the 1854 treaty was even established, and we were there. And that was our original part, and we actually got moved. It's just just a part of history that needs to be told. And, that's something I'll bring up with the mines every time, is that to me, it hurts to this day still. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll definitely bring that up. It's super important. And even at the Heritage Center, we have a display dedicated to that. And you're right, the history must be told and stuff. And it's been a little bit difficult, if I'm being completely honest, because there's like many stakeholders who have their hands kind of in this project, and I've been doing my best to tell like the real version of history and how it's impacted people. But a lot of stakeholders, it's hard to really get into the truth of things sometimes. But I will make sure that history is told for you.
Thank you.
Hi, good morning. I'll share this a little bit. From what I understand, what was told to me by my grandmother, which was handed down to her by her parents and so on, is that this is part of our origin story, is how we came to be here in that lake. Is that part of our tribe did reside in the Hibbing Chisholm area because of these three waters that flow down in the three different directions. Because our people used the waterways to get around. And that our people stayed there for many seasons. And it was a young man that was tracking a moose, and he followed that moose north. Followed him for a couple of days, kept following him. And it was in the fall time. And the story goes that he came up onto the south side of Nut Lake. And he looked down what thought looked like a field. So he ran down. And when he got to the edge of the field, he'd realized what he had found. Wild rice. And he looked around the lake as far as you could see. He made a camp. The next morning, he packed up his camp. He went back down and got the people and moved them up to here. And the second part of that story is that when that old man came from the mouth of Lost River with his clans, and looking at your stuff you got here and the treaties and stuff like that, that's from the tribal. That's from the U.S. government's perspective. On our way, if you look at the 1866 treaty and how it says Bois Forte bands, well, we weren't bands. Our people weren't staying in bands. They were staying in their respective clans. The Eagle clan, the Bear clan, the Wolf clan, the Caribou clan, which I am a Caribou clan. And there was like 18 to 21, from what I can understand, different clans that stayed out throughout the area. So when the US government people started to come around here, they deemed us as bands. And we weren't bands, we were staying in our respective clans. So how history recorded it is wrong. I just want to point it out. Thank you.
Okay. Is there any more feedback on the treaties page?
I only have a question, like financially. What did it take for you and Voice for it? What contribution, how many hours and that kind of thing? And then giving this or presenting it at the mine, what kind of contributions did they say that? How much time and effort did this cost you, and what kind of agreements, or how is this going to benefit Voice for it? Is it going to be, I know we already get entrance and that kind of thing to certain mines and stuff, but I just want to know what's the relationship going to be when you have this up and running.
That's a really good question. So far they've been contracting me personally and a former employee at the Heritage Center. So there truthfully isn't much benefit to the band in general. And I can bring that up, that's some good feedback that we should be benefiting the band if we're using imagery and stories and telling the histories. I'll definitely bring that up and see what we can come up with.
Okay. Which,
There was just a comment online, or question. Are you saying the stakeholders don't want the real history told? And shouldn't they go to the band's not private contractor to tell our history?
But if
Um,
she works for the band, though. She works for the Heritage Center.
I think the, I guess, right wording might be harsh history. And again, like with museum practices in general, it's good to write at like a 6th grade level so all ages can read and enjoy the exhibits we have. And also we wanted to make it friendly for all ages, which is not to say like these ages shouldn't know the harsh histories, but the stakeholders would probably like to stay away from that mining is this evil thing that happened, which, personally, it's been hard to work with. But I wouldn't say real history, Darren.
Perfect, thank you. All right, thank you for taking our comments into consideration. I know, Fisher, you're gonna have to work on it, right? And take some of those comments. When does this project plan to be implemented?
They don't have a set date yet. It's gonna be going into the fall for sure. They have all of the structural things set for the actual buildings. They just need to renovate the inside to kind of fit everything in and all of. Well, I don't think even the Ojibwe exhibit isn't finalized, which is why I was coming to get feedback and stuff.
Yeah,
Um,
what a good time frame on when they thought this display would be up and running.
yeah, I haven't gotten that.
Still
news
working
yet.
on it, still
Yeah.
working on the,
And
Okay.
if they're being like, really sensitive in the sense that they were like, if you need to change something, you can change something. If we need to start over, we can start over. So yeah, that's just where I'm at so far with this. So moving on to the Hill Three Waters, like I said, I wanted to tell the importance of the location without going into the hows or whys, so people don't take that information and use it in a bad way. And I wanted to also describe both the scientific importance as well as the cultural importance. And then some extra information. They mostly got this data and information from the Boys Fort website, 1854 Treaty Authority, and Why Treaties Matter. And the mural, which I was hoping to have some examples of today, but it wasn't able to happen. But it'll be done by Ojibwe artist Linnea Kingbird Martini, and she's a member of Red Lake. Yeah. You guys have any more comments or anything? Okay. Well, I'll
Thank
make
you.
sure I do take into consideration these comments and get some of this revised and changed before the actual exhibit is finalized.
much appreciated, Morgan. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
One thing I just like to add, I know we're not gonna act upon anything right away. If this does move forward and you do have that exhibit there, at the Hull Rust Booming Mine View Visitor Center, make sure when they're mentioning Boys Fort, if they're gonna mention us, that they ask us beforehand
Okay.
what they're gonna be saying, if they're gonna be on television or anything, saying we're partnering with Boys Fort or we got authority to blah, 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 whatever. Because I'm noticing that the mines are pushing a little bit forward and, I don't want our name just being put out there anywhere, especially televised, that we're partnering when we didn't act upon anything here. There isn't any exchange. The relationship is with you and the Heritage Center as you're helping out. You know what I mean? So it's not the appearance that Boys Fort is funding it, that Boys Fort is in a partnership or any MAO or MOUs, anything like that. So that they don't take our name and just publish it as if we're in partnership.
Okay.
Miigwech.
I'd just like to make a comment, reading your thing here about the Hill of Three Waters. And it talks about how the window frames view the highest place on the Masabi Iron Range. From this point, water flows in three directions: north to Hudson Bay, east to Lake Superior, and south to the Mississippi River and the Gulf of Mexico. The Hill of Three Waters is a sacred site for many indigenous communities. As a high point on the land, it has been a recognized gathering place for generations. Today, this site is surrounded by an active mine. Access is seldom granted and then only by special arrangements. I think it would be better if the tribe could just be given access to it rather than have to request it, because it's in the 1855 treaty area, which belongs to Leech Lake, but our people were staying there long before that was even a treaty area, long before America was America. I think that's something to point out. Thank you.
Yeah, I definitely agree on that. And I think the reason which I'm not saying I agree with their reasoning, is because they have like explosives going off sometimes, big equipment and stuff. So I think it's more for safety of people going through and security, just to make sure like it's band members or indigenous people going to check instead of people that might be going to like harm it in some way. But I definitely don't agree with the needing special arrangements thing. I'll tell them that too, though.
Much appreciated. Thank you, Morgan. Appreciate you coming out today. Next up, we have Miranda Lilia joining us with a couple items.
Good morning, Council. I present for your approval a lease with Embarrass Vermilion Federal Credit Union for the Net Lake branch. The lease was approved by Embarrass Vermilion Federal Credit Union's board back on, I believe it was August 19th, 2025. This is a lease that will auto renew each year for up to 5 years. And it was reviewed by Jeff back on July 21st, 2025.
Does this one cover the one in Fortune Bay too?
It is listed on the lease, but that location is closing, if not already closed.
Oh, actually, we had that, so if they close that one, that doesn't close this one then, right?
No,
Okay. So they're gonna let the one in Fortune Bay just, collect interest or what? I'm kidding.
I'm like, I didn't understand. Sorry.
Move to approve.
Moved by Shane. Do I have a second? Second. Second by Robert. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Any silent? Motion carried.
Next, I have the wild rice update that was provided by Chris Holm. Excuse me, it was provided yesterday, so I will read it aloud. Chris states, this may be the last written report to council on Net Lake rice before season opening. Some rice committee members think that the rice may be ready to harvest on Saturday, September 13, but that is tentative depending on weather and additional rice reviews by the committee. Rice beds are in final kernel filling stage. Kernels are currently a mix of milky and chalky. More warm weather would be helpful to get kernels to mature. Water levels are good for navigating within rice beds. Notice of opening will be issued as soon as possible after committee sets the date. The 2025 GPS rice bed map has been completed and is available at RTC reception desks in Vermilion and Net Lake, the C-Store, and the DNR office. Permits are also available at those locations. Red and green flags will be flown at ENP as per usual to inform the community. Rice Committee is meeting weekly now to assess the status of the rice, to plan the ceremonial pick, review permit requests, and so forth. The next scheduled meeting of the committee is Thursday, September 4th. Room location and time have not been set at time of writing this report. DNR will buy up to 10,000 pounds of green rice from member pickers who want to sell. DNR will pay $5 per pound for green rice. DNR is also advertising now for members who would like to parch rice. All rice purchased this year will be for hand-parched product. Sign-up sheets for interested persons are available at the RTC reception desks in Vermilion and Nett Lake and at the C-store. End of report.
Sounds good. So it sounds like tomorrow they're gonna have another conservation committee meeting, September 4th, to be determined location, and then they're gonna possibly set a tentative date for next Saturday for Rising, depending on how the conservation committee meetings go tomorrow and within the next week. Hi, Doris. How you doing?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that the Conservation Committee will only be purchasing rice for hand parched, and they will not be doing any machine finished rice this year. They currently have about 2,000 pounds of machine finished rice, which will take you through till about December. And after that, you won't have no machine finished rice. So just for your information, if you want to consider if the council is going to be buying any more rice other than 10,000 pounds. Thank you.
Which, thank you, Doris.
And I did just receive an update. The Conservation Committee meeting is 1 o'clock tomorrow in the Wolf Room.
1 o'clock tomorrow in the Wolf Room here in Nett Lake, Conservation Committee meeting. Thank you, Miranda. Do we have any more items on the agenda? That was the last one. All right. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting? Moved by Tara. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Robert. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. We wish everyone, thank you all for joining us. It's 11:10, September 3rd, 2025. Motion adjourned.